Well, good morning, everyone. This is Kathy McCaws. I'm the Marketing Director for GeoNexus Technologies. Thank you for being with us today and joining us for our second webcast series, Enterprise Redlining Solutions, More Than a Markup Tool. During today's 30-minute session, we're going to take you through an overview of our GeoWorx Sketch product and learn how redlining tools are really becoming an important enterprise-wide tool for the integrity of your asset and GIS data, especially for non-GIS users. At this time, I would like to introduce Keith Crisco, who is the Vice President of Product Development for GeoNexus Technologies. Keith has 20 years experience in designing, developing, and implementing GIS and EAM integration solutions for government entities and utilities. Prior to coming to GeoNexus, he was a senior developer and an architect at ESRI for several years, as well as EMA and GIS solution. Keith is currently responsible for managing all of our existing GIS and EAM integration products and creating the strategic roadmap for product and enhancements and new innovations moving forward.
Well, thanks everyone for taking the time. We'll walk through this as quickly as we can, but also as clearly as we can, and then answer some questions at the end, and certainly reach out to us later if you have additional questions. What I'm going to do is walk through a few brief slides to introduce the Sketch product, where it fits in your enterprise as kind of an overview, and then we'll do a brief demonstration of the Sketch product live so you can see it in action, and we'll wrap up with a slide on the advantages of the product, and then we'll be able to conclude with some questions. So what we're looking at here is where Sketch fits in within the GeoWorx product line, but also within the typical GIS EAM architecture as well. So what I want you to focus on here is the kind of circular clockwise motion cycle of the system. So if we start in the upper left, we're looking at, in this case, it's a screenshot of Oracle WAM, but it could be Maximo, it could be any EAM system that has some type of map associated with it. What we do is connect our Sketch tool to that map, and it can be one of many types of maps, and we'll cover that later. The sketching tool will allow the users that are looking at the map and looking at their assets to communicate changes back to editors that they think are necessary. They see problems in the map, and they want a nice, easy-to-use interface to get that question or edit back to the editor. Sketch allows them to do that. So look at Sketch in the upper right. They use the Sketch tool, they submit the changes, request the changes to editors. Editors make the change, and then, of course, it gets immediately put into the GIS database or asset database where it's viewable by the asset system and by the map, of course. But now, in some cases, some of you may have or are interested also in this GeoWorx, in our GeoWorx Sync product. It takes this takes the process one step further, where the changes that go into the GIS database, if you have a decoupled asset database, it will actually push the changes over there as well. So that's where Sketch fits into that overall system. One more view of that, I just want to kind of drive this point home of this feedback loop. So again, starting from the top, if we open a map, and in this case it's a screenshot of a flex map, and for this scenario, from there you see a problem with the data, you want to communicate that. You open the Sketch tool, nice easy-to-use interface. You make the change, or you make the suggested change. You're not editing data directly. You're sketching on a georeferenced image. You send that requested change down to your editors. And then we're down in the lower portion of the graphic here, and then down in here, the editors make the change, and then the data is updated. The data are updated to the GIS system, to your asset database, and the cycle continues. So you're always working on the integrity of your data, using your users and field users and their exposure to the data to see those changes and request those changes. What I want to show you here was just kind of the nice, easy-to-use, field-friendly, user-friendly view of Sketch. Again, you zoom to the area you're interested in on your map, you pop open Sketch, and you start to use these graphical tools. And it has all the typical things, the ability to add text and callouts and points and polygons and change colors. You can add images as well if you have photos or short movie clips or what you have, what you may have in the field to try to make the point that you're trying to make about the data issue. The point is here, again, you're not doing remote editing of any kind. You're sketching on a map and making your point to editors or to other people in the organization in a nice, kind of field-friendly, easy-to-use interface. This slide is probably the most important slide I wanted to show today, really, and that's the concept of this being a universal system. We built Sketch so that it can be connected to virtually any type of map. So what we want to do here is make the point that we can do a one system to allow anybody in an enterprise to give feedback about the data and get that back to the editors. And that's really important, right? We want to keep the integrity of the data as high quality as we can. And by exposing or having anybody in the enterprise be able to use the Sketch tool, the same Sketch tool everywhere, that constantly improves the quality of the data. So we have connected Sketch to Silverlight viewers. We connected it to Flash Flex viewers, which is what our GeoWorx Map application is built on, and that is in turn built on the Esri Flex API. Same for HTML5 JavaScript. So we connected it to those viewers, including, of course, Maximo Spatial. It also can be connected in desktop environments, in Windows environments, to ArcMap, ArcView, and also ArcEngine solutions, whether it be Java or .NET. And it does operate in the connected or disconnected mode out in the field, for example, with ArcEngine solutions. We are now looking at connecting it to Android and iOS systems as well, and that will be a connected or disconnected situation there as well. So hopefully within this year we'll be operating on those Android and iOS tablets. Regardless, they all open the same Sketch tool, and that's the point. Everybody in the enterprise is using the same interface to communicate these changes. The changes get pushed down to the Geo database, and that's where the editors pick them up. And using our GeoWorx Manager tools in ArcMap, they process these sketches that come in. They look at the sketches, make the edits, and update the data. A couple of screenshots of these integrations. In this case, we're looking at Oracle WAM, which interfaces. The second back image there is GeoWorx Map Viewer. That is the map viewer for Oracle WAM. From there, you open Sketch. So that's Sketch opening from a Flex viewer. Sketch can be opened from a JavaScript viewer. In this case, integrated with Maximo Spatial. Added a custom widget there. Same sketching tool opens up. Submit that sketch back to your data editors. In this case, we're looking at Sketch integrated with ArcMap. So ArcMap desktop 9.3 through all the way through 10.2. Sketch will work with that. So your ArcMap users can use the same interface to make suggested edits to the data. What I want to show here is that the primary workflows of Sketch, and so we're looking at the buttons here from left to right in the red circle, and they correspond to descriptions from top to bottom. The biggest thing you do with Sketch is to submit them, of course. So you see a change that needs to be made, you want to submit that information, to submit that requested change back to editors. But you can also email sketches. So there may be scenarios where you don't want to send an edit to the editors or send a question to the editors. You want to ask someone else in the enterprise. You can use the sketch in that way. You can pop it open, mark up the map, and send it to anyone in the enterprise and ask them a question. And they can respond via the same sketch. They can add additional markup and respond back to you. So it becomes kind of a spatial communication tool. You can save sketches for later editing. You can print to PDF. One thing that we added recently is this interface to be able to attach a sketch as an attached document. So, for example, I might have a work order in WAM or in Maximo, and you could choose to attach that sketch as an attached document in Maximo, and then use it as a standard attached document interface. So you would see that as a link, click on it, and it opens up that sketch. Finally, there's this ability to locate a sketch on a map. So if you receive a sketch via email, you may not know exactly where it is. It is a spatially referenced image, but at that point it's just sitting within the sketch tool. If you click the locate button, it'll actually pop up the associated map viewer and zoom to that area. And then you've got a full-fledged GIS viewer that you can kind of interrogate the map further and kind of understand where that sketch came from. Finally, there is the GeoWorx Sketch Manager. These are ArcMap add-ins. So in the background there, you see Arc, in this case, Arc Editor. That's what we'll be using to edit the data. In the lower right is the sketch table. That shows all the current sketch records, including their status. Are they completed? Are they new? And what have you. So it's essentially the record of all the sketches that are coming into the system. Of course, the goal is to work your way through that table and make the edits and then mark them as completed. On the left side is the Sketch Manager panel, and that gives you a little bit more functionality in the table. This is This is what you use to load the sketch image into the map, view the sketch image, look at notes, show attached documents if someone had attached a photo, that sort of thing, and to set the status to complete when you're done. Okay, so that was a quick overview. I'm going to run back through a lot of those points now live, so I'm going to jump to a live view of Sketch, and we're going to walk through with the host map being GeoWorx Map, which is a product that we have that integrates with the WAM product. Excuse me, I clicked the wrong button there. So this is our map viewer. It's based on the Flex API from ESRI or Esri, and it is the kind of the map front end for the WAM product. So this is an Oracle specific product, but we're going to use this mostly as a host map to show that the Flex the sketch functionality. So we're going to run through a scenario where there's a hydrant that's in question. There's a question about whether or not it's been removed or not. So we're going to run through a scenario where we zoom into that hydrant, we email someone a question about it. They say, yes, it needs to be removed, and then we'll submit that request to the editors via Sketch, and then the editor will open that up in ArcMap. So first thing I'm going to do is zoom into a tighter area here. I'm just using a standard map, standard Flex map, and I see the hydrant in question. It's this one here and kind of the right side of the map. And I want to know, I'm pretty sure for some reason that has been removed, but I'm not absolutely certain. So I want to ask someone else in the enterprise who I know has more information about that. So what I do is click the Sketch button. When I do that, it's taking a snapshot of that map image, a georeference snapshot, and it pops open the Sketch tool. So I'm looking at the same map that I saw in my map viewer, but now it's in this Sketch context. I can come in here and I can sketch to my heart's content, but in this case, I'm going to make a short and simple point about this hydrant, and I want to know, has that one been removed? So I'm going to put a circle around it and say, hasn't this been removed? I'll just call it HYD 1001 because maybe I didn't identify earlier, and I know that this is hydrant 1001, but ideally I'd have labeling on my map. I say, okay, and I'm going to send this to someone in the enterprise via email. So I say, hydrant 1001 removed, put a question mark, and it's just the title of the sketch. A little bit of information about me, what unit I belong to, and my email. Now I'm ready to send it. So I'm not going to submit it. I'm going to send it to someone in the enterprise. So to do that, I just hit the email button, say yes, and then it will interface with my standard email system, which in this case is Outlook. So I would type in the address, not of myself, but I would type in it of someone else, typically, and send that off. I can add a subject, and I'll just keep using the same subject matter here, hydrant 1001 removed. And I can send that. You'll notice it's not sending an image, it's sending a link to the actual live sketch. So I just hit submit, or I hit send, and you'll notice that email's already been received. So that would have been received by a different recipient. So I'm going to go in here and find that email. So what's happening now is the person that received that email has the sketch link. They can open that up, and they can look at the sketch. And they might know the answer. Hopefully, that's who I sent it to. They have an answer for me, and they might say, yes, for sure that one has actually been removed, and they communicate that back to me. They could respond via the sketch. For time purposes right now, let's just say that whoever received this did, in fact, verify that that's been removed. Again, they could click this locate button in the upper right. If they do that, it will open the associated map viewer and actually take them to that location. So I'll click that quickly. So they might have some more. That sketch might not have enough information for them, so they're going to go ahead and open the associated map viewer. And now I'm in a full-blown map viewer, so I have access to all the standard kind of GIS tools you'd expect. I can do identifies and search around and basically do the research I need to know to let that person know that, yes, in fact, that hydrant has been removed. So now I'm back to me, the original person that had a question about the hydrant. I now know that, yes, it was removed. My colleague inform me of that. And now I do actually want to submit this sketch. So I might zoom in a little tighter and pick my area again here. And now I'm ready to do a submission. So I open the sketch tool again, in this case with the intent of submitting. I circle the hydrant, add a note again, please remove, and I can type as much or as little as I want to get my point across. Say OK, I'm going to say remove HYD 1001, select my unit, and again I'm going to be adding my metadata here. Now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to submit this. So now this is actually going to go back to the data editor. So I hit the submit button, get a question about whether or not I'm sure. I am sure. So off it goes. So what I just did there, sent that sketch back to the data editors and is now in the geodatabase. You'll notice this little email notification popped up on the screen. That's because we can notify editors as well. So when sketches are submitted, they can always just go in and check their sketch manager tool in ArcMap every day, but optionally they can be notified when a sketch is submitted, and that was that email that you saw pop up. So we'd like to notify the editors that, hey, someone did submit a sketch. The sketch is now in the back end or in the geodatabase, right? So now it's accessible to anyone in the enterprise as a georeferenced image or one of these sketch records. So now we're taking the perspective of a data editor. So here I am now in ArcMap. In this case, ArcMap, this is 10.1, I believe. But as I said earlier, we'll operate in 9.3 through 10.2, so it keeps the product current with all the ArcGIS versions. So I'm an editor. I come in here. I've been notified via email that, hey, a sketch has been submitted. So I want to go ahead and look for that sketch and make that edit. So we're looking at ArcMap. You notice in the upper right with a couple of custom or a couple of add-ins that are the sketch manager system. I'm going to click on the open sketch table button. And we get a table here that shows all the current sketch records. And you see that I've worked through the data, complete all my records, but this new one just came in about removing HYD 1001. I'm going to double click on that so that it'll automatically zoom ArcMap to that location and also pop up the Sketch Manager panel, which has a little bit more functionality than the table does. With the Sketch Manager panel, I can do things like set the status and actually view the sketch image. So now I want to process this record. So I've received this, I've looked at it, I've done my research. I say, yep, sure enough, this hydrant does need to be removed. I'm going to go ahead and look at the image that was sent in. So this is the image that was sent in by the person in the field or out somewhere in the enterprise. I look at that, gives me some information. If they had attached a document, I could click the attached documents pull down and open up a photo or a PDF or what have you. I can also load the image. Because it's a georeferenced image, I can load it directly into my map, and you'll see that it aligns with the line work. So it's the actual image that was captured in the field, and that's what I'm looking at, but it does align perfectly with the data that I'm looking at in ArcMap. So regardless of how I go about it, I want to verify that this edit needs to be made and make the edit. And of course, when I'm done, I'm going to mark it as complete. So let's say I did the edit, I removed the hydrant, and now I'm going to click the completed button. I get some verification messages, and then you'll see that it disappears from the map because its status has changed, but it does stay in the system just with a different status. And then we have this ability to notify the submitter. So now I can click yes, and I can actually notify the submitter of the sketch that, hey, yes, your record's been processed. Thank you very much. And that way, the people that are submitting these things know, they get some feedback to know that they're contributing to the quality of the data. So that email would be received by the person that submitted it. Refresh my table, and now everything is marked complete, and I am good for the day. So that's the kind of completes the process of editing the data. I want to show you a couple more things here, trying to stick to our half-hour limit, so I'm going to move quickly. What I want to show you now is just some examples of how Sketch can be connected to other viewers as well, and try to drive home this point of it being a potentially universal data feedback tool for you. So here I am in ArcMap, standard ArcMap desktop, and if I click the Create New Sketch button, you'll see that it pops up Sketch again. And the big thing here to notice is it's the exact same tool that we saw from the field or from a browser-based system, right? So I'm in here and I can use all the same sketching functionality that I could from what we looked at earlier from a flex-based viewer. So again, putting this universal concept to use. So that was from ArcMap. I'm going to drag over a JavaScript HTML5 or HTML viewer here on the interface, and if there's Maximo folks, users out there, you'll notice this layout. This is the Maximo Spatial Map. So standard Maximo Spatial Map, and I'm sure, again, Maximo folks, then you can extend that with custom tools, which we do quite a bit, but we've also integrated our productized sketch into Maximo Spatial. So JavaScript viewer, I click the sketch button, taking a georeference screenshot of the Maximo Spatial Map, and up pops, again, that same sketch system. All the same functionality, ability to add graphics, attach documents, and submit these to the back end. So within the span of a couple minutes there, then we saw a sketch attached to a Flex viewer, an Arc desktop viewer, and a JavaScript viewer. And like I said, it can also be attached to Arc Engine viewers and additional HTML5 or Silverlight viewers as well. Okay, that concludes the whirlwind tour of the product. I want to jump back to the PowerPoint for one more slide, and then I'll be wrapping up. So I just want to jump back and just reiterate the main points one more time with you. Again, the primary point that we're making today is the first point. Basically, the same sketch viewer can be used by multiple different types of map viewers throughout the enterprise, and those map viewers that are associated with different EAM systems, whether or not they be Maximo or WAM, Mintix, SAP, and so forth. So same sketch system throughout the enterprise. Very easy to use. We're not editing data. We're not doing remote editing. That's another perspective on this. We take the kind of easy to use, sketching type interface. So that's the approach of the sketch tool. Constantly improves the integrity of your data. The more people looking at your data and giving feedback and then feeling like they're contributing to that and getting notification that their edits are processed, the better. Your data gets better every day. It's also a communication tool, right? Not only are you submitting information to editors, you're also able to email those sketches around the enterprise and just ask questions in a geospatial way. Some advanced functionality that's been added is the ability to attach sketches to work orders, service requests, work requests, what have you, so that you use the existing attached documents functionality of your EAM in combination with Sketch to attach this kind of meaningful information. It's all stored in your geodatabase. No special systems here, no special databases are used. Any Arc editor desktop person can get in there and look at those. It is stored in a feature class in your standard geodatabase. There's tracking and processing of the sketches through the sketch manager in that table that we showed earlier. And finally, unless you choose to delete them, those sketches always remain there. We have some clients with thousands of these sketches, and we can look back over time and see how the system's been used and what data has been changed and how many edits they've made over time. So thanks very much for that. That concludes what I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm going to turn the presentation back to Kathy.
Thank you very much, Keith. We did have a couple questions that came in, and one of them was, can Sketch display points from a GPS feed?
That is a great question. So, it can if they're on your map, right? So it takes a snapshot of your map. So in that case, right now, today, it can. But it is, we've got a few things on the roadmap for this year, including the iOS and Android functionality, and that is one of them. That's been asked a few times, and so that is something we'll be accommodating, hopefully by the end of this year, to interface directly with a GPS feed.
And we've got another question here. How is GeoWorx Sketch licensed? By server, by user? Another good question.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a good question. So the licensing is kind of a hybrid, really. So we have a base server fee, and then the fairest way we've come up with to have this be scalable for folks is to have just a per user fee on top of that. So there's a base server fee and then a per user fee. So if you have just 10 folks using it, that's fine, up to several hundred. And the pricing will scale based on number of users.
Okay, thank you. If there aren't any other questions at this time, We'd like to thank you again and remind you that you'll be receiving an email with a link to this webcast. You'll be able to share this with other colleagues, and if you have any additional questions, please visit us at www.geonexus.com. Thank you.